Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Spot On Jaguars podcast brought to you by Teal Reign and Don Juan's Mexican Restaurant. Week 1 NFL preseason is in the books. We got the W versus the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly from that game. We're going to talk about this week's coming up contest versus the Detroit Lions. And stick around to the very end. We got a special giveaway for you. So if you like the Jacksonville Jaguars, all things Duval, hit the like and subscribe button, and let's get started. Okay, guys, welcome back. We're going to get right into it. Ben, Jeff, Eric, we're back. We're going to talk about the preseason week 1 in the books. Dallas Cowboys, we got the W, but the big play everyone's talking about, the Nathan Rourke touchdown to Quadri Allison, reminiscent of the Eli Manning helmet catch in the Super Bowl. Not as big a stakes as the Super Bowl, but reminiscent of helmet catch. He broke a few tackles, mini tackles, scrambled to his right, threw the ball, threw a prayer up, and who comes down with it? Quadri Allison, the immortal, 21-yard touchdown catch. Big play. I'm sure everyone saw it by now. Tell us your thoughts on the big play.
It was actually pretty amazing. I mean, I'm sitting there watching it, and after he ducks under the first tackle, I lost him. I didn't know what happened. I was like,
get rid of it.
I thought he dropped it, and then some other random guy picked up and threw it. And I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? It kind of reminded me back like when one of Minshew's first games when he was just dodging everybody, and it was a on-point pass. Right there, he was like, you're second string.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, we got Trevor's bestie is going to be the second stringer. But I went from thinking we're definitely not keeping 3 quarterbacks to maybe.
How do you cut this guy now? He's like the preseason hero, week 1, already giving us the highlight. This is going to be the throw of the season, happen week 1 of the preseason.
On SportsCenter today, Booger McFarland said that is the play of the year.
Well, it was.
It really is. It was
he says
wonderful.
the play of the year, but it's only preseason.
They had it. It was the number 1 play of the top 10, the ESPN, the SportsCenter top 10 or whatever.
It was a great
four
play. Tackles he dodged?
Yeah, and even Mahomes on Twitter, he was like, that was nasty or something like that. So it had everybody's attention. It was a good play. I mean, maybe not so good a play by the offensive line, for that play to be able to happen.
And we'd be doing it injustice not to break it down football-wise, but what you like to see is you like to see him keep his head up, keep his eyes downfield on the receivers, feel the pocket presence, not be looking and scrambling out, looking for. You feel that, you avoid the rush, and then you deliver a strike, and that's what he could do. And going forward, that's going to be what could keep him on an NFL roster if he doesn't make second string, third string, whatever. And I think this year you're allowed to do, with the new rule, you're allowed to keep the emergency quarterback, and it doesn't count against your 53-man roster spot. So it looks like he might have played his way onto the roster, but either way, he's a fan favorite now.
I mean, honestly, after that game, you really have a QB battle for number 2. You truly do.
If you haven't seen the play, seriously, because you have to see this play, it was amazing.
They even showed it at the BC Lions is his old CFL team. They showed it on the Jumbotron, and it was cool because all his former teammates were all getting hyped, and but he's him. And
either way, I love the Jaguars getting some national media attention finally. Something to talk about. A great play for us, but and then that's about it for the backup quarterback. Let's move on to. And let me set the stage for everybody because we got together. Obviously, we all gathered up. We went over to Ben's house. We're ready to go. We have our food. We sit down. We have a bunch of people over, and we're ready. We're getting hyped. And the very first play from scrimmage, Trevor Lawrence drops back.
Second play
from scrimmage. Trevor Lawrence drops back and delivers a strike to the Dallas Cowboys. So that was a letdown. We were, palpable buzz in the room. We were all excited, and then boom, he hits the interception. Ben walks through the interception. Talk about that for a second.
Well, we were all excited. It's preseason, so, it wasn't, it could have been worse. But from what he said and what Peterson said in the press conference, I think it was yesterday or day before, that the ball slipped out of his hand and don't have any reason to not believe him. I thought it was kind of weird. You had 2 receivers like right on top of each other, so I don't know if there was a wrong route involved. I still put on Trevor.
Evan was open.
Yeah. If he would have,
and that's possibly why the ball slipped. If you see a guy coming in right on top of each other, you figure out they're running the wrong route, and you try to tuck the ball, and then you release it.
And what did I say? I wasn't mad. I said, well, he is throwing across his body. I was making excuses.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like, he's throwing across his body. So Evan was open, and when they come out and said it slipped, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
100%. Sorry, that was your 100%.
I know.
No, so
y'all about to see me punch him in the throat, okay?
The throat punch?
So, no, he always says 100%. He's like, I got to stop saying 100%. Right. But anyway, I wasn't that worried about it. I don't think that, we did talk about things that we want to see in this game, and a fast start was one of them. And
We
that
didn't get
is
that.
not exactly the fast start we were looking for. I have zero concerns that the offense is going to be good. So ultimately, it's not that big a deal. And he finished strong.
Yeah, 5-6.
The next drive, I think it was Bucky Brooks said that he thought they were going to be coming out before we got that fumble on the punt. So because of the quick change, offense got to go back in, and they finished off with the touchdown and then got the 2-point conversion. So it was a good way to end it, and they did kind of right the ship a little bit. But hopefully coming up we see them do a little bit better with the quick start.
All right, and staying with the offensive side of the ball, the big position battle right now for the Jaguars, the running back position. The top position is going to be ETN. We agree on that.
Yeah.
But the backup position did Tank Bigsby just seriously elevate himself and leave that much room in between him? Talk about Snoop Connor for a second. A third-round draft pick from last year, and may not even be making the roster. Jeff, talk about the running back situation.
Tank had excuse me, everybody, I'm dealing with a cold, but Tank had a very, very slow start. I was not impressed in the beginning. He did have a 34-yard run, ended with 54 yards out of 5 or 6 carries?
About right.
9 carries?
It was 9 carries for 52. 9 carries for 52.
So that big run really saved.
But that's what running backs do, though.
And it was a slow start. That
Knock,
very
knock,
first
knock, and bust
run
through.
on third down, he got popped.
Yeah,
he got stood up, and he got popped to where we didn't get the first down. So that was that's your first impression to me. I'm thinking.
I'm looking at it, and you kind of see it happen in slow motion, and you're like, hey, this is what we got him for. Get those tough yards, and then he got stood up.
Back.
But I honestly, first of all, Tank was already going to be the number two guy.
Now, by me saying this, I'm not saying that Tank's a terrible pick.
No, I know.
I'm just talking about first game.
Well, on his big run, his 34-yarder, he was pulling away from guys.
Yeah,
he flashed some speed that
correct.
We knew he had. We went over his 40 time last week, but field speed and 40 speed or gym speed or whatever, different kind of things. He was pulling away from guys. So that to me, that look right there. And Ben was talking about running backs. You kind of you take, and then you bust a big one.
Yeah.
You get a big run, and you kind of knock, and rush through the door like Mr. Kool-Aid or something.
Especially at the beginning of a game, usually the defenses are ready, and now later in the game when they start to wear down a little bit, then you start to bust a little bit longer runs, for average. But I didn't see anything. I did again when you saw that first one where you kind of got stonewalled. You're kind of okay, kind of was hoping he would have pushed him a little bit, but then it was and then he broke the one, which by the way. Strange got a really nice block on.
Great block.
We'll talk about him a little bit more. But I'm not worried about Tank. I thought Tank played well, and I think that he's definitely number two.
Compare him to Snoop Connor, and the reason being, Snoop Connor seven rushes for 15 yards, added 2 catches for 22 yards receiving. But the reason being, he's the number 3 third round draft pick from last season. This guy should be a contributing player, a quality player, a starting player, and this guy might not make the team between Dearness Johnson, Jermichael Hasty, Snoop Connor, ETN, and Tank Bigsby. We're not carrying 5 running backs. I'm probably not even carrying 4.
I think coming into the season, I think before we got Tank, there were some question marks with Snoop. He wasn't a huge factor last year. Now early on, Snoop in OTAs, there were some people saying that he was looking good in OTAs, and even I thought in the game before that fumble, I don't know if it was him or the exchange with the quarterback, but before that, I thought he was looking pretty good. But I mean, I think it's ETN, it's Tank, and then you have Jermichael Hasty, who they re-signed. And then Dearness Johnson, who I really like him. So there's 4 guys right there, and I think that's your running back.
Now, don't
stable.
you have a little bit of Agnew coming in there every now and then?
Agnew at running back?
Yeah, didn't he do some?
Yeah,
runs
they
last
do
year?
some sweeps.
That
and
was
some
like
screens.
Yeah, that's like
gimmicky
gimmicky stuff like that. But I mean,
but still,
as far as
4th or 5th option.
As far as our running backs go, it's those guys though. It's ETN, it's Tank, it's Jermichael Hasty.
But when you got Agnew as an option, then you're like,
even more obsolete.
Going to be like, you know what I mean?
I think he's, I think he won't be around.
Okay, moving to the receiving side of the offense, Calvin Ridley, 2 catches, 21 yards, looked sharp. We knew he wasn't going to get a lot of run. We knew they were going to put him out there for a lot of plays. And basically the offense was a pretty bland, pretty vanilla offense. They weren't going to show anything. It was just line up and get some plays in. We obviously had Calvin Ridley, the guy everyone's been waiting to see. Didn't do much, but like I said, looked sharp. Talk about Calvin Ridley. And then we have the rookie, Brenton Strange. We all want to see him. Made a couple nice blocks, couple catches. Talk about the receiving core, Jeff.
Strange, I love, because the blocks were like he leveled one person. I was like, that's impressive.
And that's what we want from him, because Evan Ingram is the receiving tight end, if so to speak, and then Strange should be a dual blocking and a receiving.
And
that's what we want.
Strange had two or three targets, 2 catches, 8 yards, 4 yards a catch.
But yeah,
that is your third down guy. Like,
the one callback, right? The one callback on the penalty.
It's just Strange is going to be a factor this year. A lot of people might not know that, but he will be. He's that third down guy. He puts on the blocks.
Oh, he's definitely. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to have a good year this year.
If he can pick up some first downs and move the chains, then he's going to be worth his weight in gold. We know that.
The 2 catches he had, that's 4 yards. I mean,
right.
that's 3rd and 3, whatever. He got a first down.
Yeah, and the receivers, I thought it was funny, deservedly so, Ridley's been getting all the hype and everything, and I mean, literally, in training camp, that guy breathes and the crowd cheers. So everybody's excited about Ridley, and we should be. But it was cool to see, all of a sudden, Kirk, old reliable, come in and get the touchdown, and then Zay Jones get the 2-point conversion. So it's like these, and that's what is going to make, I believe, the offense so special, is there's just so many weapons.
He's beefed up a little bit.
Oh, he's thick.
He got a little thick.
And he's still fast.
Yeah, he got a little thick.
Like that. Offensive line played pretty well. All eyes were on Anton Harrison. I thought he played a little inconsistent. I saw him give up what essentially was a rush. A guy made the first move, Harrison picked it up, guy made the counter move, and then he got through, and that's the one where Trevor dumped the ball off to Christian Kirk. To Trevor's credit, saw the rush, got the ball off. Other than that, Harrison looked pretty good. That's what what we're hoping for. And that's the young guys. This is what they have to get. They have to get that experience to get those counter moves. It's called play against that. Keep your head down. Get in there and do the dirty work. And so, other than that, offensive line looking really good. Harrison. Talk about the offensive line. Ben, what'd you see?
Yeah, I thought, especially early on, I thought they looked good. Trevor had time. I thought Anton played well. I watched the what do they call it, the all 22, and there was a couple plays where he maybe missed a little bit, but then some other ones he was impressive. I saw him lay out a guy. I saw him
the pancake.
And I think he for a first time rookie, I was pleased, and I think he's.
And for the most part, offensive linemen go unheralded. Their job is to keep the quarterback standing up on 2 feet, give him time to deliver strikes. And in this case, when you have a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who can make you pay if he gets time, that offensive line becomes extra important, more valuable. Jeff, what do you think? Tell us about the offensive line.
I think they did really good. I mean, I didn't see really Trevor get rushed that much. But again, we're going to get second, third string Dallas. So it's kind of really hard to tell and judge. But in that game, I thought we actually did
opened up some holes for the running backs.
Yeah.
Kept some time for Trevor Lawrence. You liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. No complaints from me. But again, second, third string going against.
So we don't know exactly what we had yet.
Yeah, I think. We preface anything we say. Going forward is we understand it was against backups, and then later in the game, they're all reserves playing against each other. So there's a lot of variables.
But I'd rather say what we're saying now than say they played absolutely horrible against.
Well, exactly, and that's what you come away with is, man, we have a lot of depth, and we have a lot of guys that can make plays. You know what I mean? And so we may need to rely on them at some point.
So the old saying for offensive linemen is you don't want to hear their name during the broadcast. Right. If you hear their name, that means something bad, penalty, or they gave up a sack.
You want them to be the silent majority.
Right. So
if nothing's really good, nothing is said, there's nothing bad said. So that's good.
Okay, and let's move on to the defense side of the ball now. And for me, the defense side of the ball had a little bit more bad than good. Obviously, some bright spots. Well, actually, let's go to the bright spots first. For me personally, Yasir Abdullah, product of Louisville, 3 tackles, a sack, looking as good as advertised. I mean, that's obviously huge for us. We can get that rookie. If we can get some pass rush out of these rookies, get some extra pass rush, that's going to be huge. Ben, talk about the rookies. Talk about the defense and the pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, as far as when I was kind of making my list of the pros, of the good of the game, it was
You first jot down Sonny's Barbecue. I think it's the first thing you said.
Oh, it ended up being
You're like
pretty
Sonny's
good.
Barbecue.
Yeah, it was good.
Wait.
Shout out to Sonny's. They supply us with the.
I want to tell you this. It took him longer to pour the sauces on his plate than to make his plate.
Like
he
sauce.
had 47 sauces.
I was
sauce. I'm going back for second helpings. And this dude's like sauce. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm saucy. Yeah, I like sauce. But yeah, like all the rookies you just kept seeing rookies making plays. And so, on defense, Yasir Abdullah played well. Braswell had the interception. Antonio Johnson, Cooper Hodges, and I'm not an offensive line expert, but he was part of the offensive line looking good. And then hearing like the experts, Baselli and some of the other talking heads, they're real pleased with him, thinking he looks good. Gregory Jr., which he's just keeps making plays, and he looks to be getting in a larger role in the regular season. Your boy Ventrell looked good.
Yeah. About time you mentioned his name. I'm sitting there waiting.
Jeff tells
I like him. No.
Okay. By the way, we might need to film the watch party because this might be more fun than the actual show. People can see us watching the Jaguar games. Tell us about Ventrell. Jeff, we know you were scouting him hard.
2 tackles, 2 solo tackles, 1 interception, 1 hit on the quarterback. Great job. I'm impressed. I've been telling y'all, this is a sleeper on defense. Drafted 4th round. I think he's going to be great.
This is a game changer.
The very first game, he played so good.
If you can get production like this out of a 4th rounder, out of a defensive player, and it might be, a huge boost to the defense to get that kind of all-around defensive production. You're getting a pass rush. You're getting a guy that can intercept. You're getting a guy that doesn't miss nothing in the run game. He's getting those tackles. Seriously, this is a big deal. That looked really good for me.
Well, he looked good. And speaking of linebackers, Devin Lloyd looked good. It was limited action, but he looked really good. And he looks like he might be ready to go. Last year, when you look at him, he's a specimen. And he made plays, but it was the kind of that learning curve. He maybe wasn't picking everything up, but. Go ahead.
But just like you were highlighting the rookies on defense, like Antonio Johnson, 8 total tackles, 5 solo. Devon Wilson, 4 total tackles, 4 solo. Ventrell, Yasir, sack, and then Christian Braswell interceptions. That's 5 just off the cuff. That's 5 rookies right there that had great games.
Offense and defense, like we said, the rookies were making their presence known, all over. But then not just the rookies. I think, offensively we talked about some of the, usual suspects and Kirk and Zay and et cetera. But defensively, Devon Hamilton, who I think he's going to have a big year. He was dealing with injuries last year. The interior of our defensive line, I think, is going to be really stout. Roy Robertson Harris and then Devon Hamilton, and then hopefully that helps to
open up
the pass rush a little bit more from the outside.
Speaking of the pass rush, and now we're going to talk about some of the veterans. Now, we didn't expect him to play a lot. So Josh Allen didn't play much, 1 tackle. Trayvon Walker his name didn't even get called, but. Caleb Von Chason. What is there left to say? This guy is just. He can't get in there. He can't make it happen. It's just not. It's not coming together for him. And is the time running out on the experiment, the Caleb Von Chason experiment? Is it about time we cut the cord on that?
He's young.
That says it all. The size says it all, Jeff.
That's a good question.
You hear things and oh yeah, he's looking good and he's working hard, but then you don't see it. You don't see the production, or at least nothing that jumps out at you. He's still young. Everybody seems to like him in the building, but I just don't know if it's going to work.
This off season, I've heard more positive things about him. Than in the past, but then first game comes up,
nothing,
and I don't see him.
Right,
it's like he ghosted me. You know what I mean? It's like, text back, dog. Come on, man. What's up?
Yeah. No, and we want to see him come together. We had high hopes, obviously, for going a couple of years now. Had high hopes on this guy, thinking he was going to be a game changer, and if he ever developed into that game changer. But like I said, if we're hearing these rookies' names get called play after play after play, eventually they just make their way into the starting lineup. They make their way onto the field, and then he becomes an also ran, and we don't want to see that happen. I mean, we would love for him to get in there and
be successful, absolutely.
Right. So
come from the SEC, absolutely.
It's looking more and more like he might end up losing his job or his roster spot, which is sad to say, but that might be.
I mean,
you want to get pushed out is the thing.
Right. And they went and brought Jadeveon in to see.
Yeah, that's another thing. I was getting ready to get to that, Ben. This week they brought in Jadeveon Clowney. Obviously, been around the league, been around the league, known as a pass rusher. I guess the numbers do not approve of that status.
Inconsistent.
He's in the so I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him on the team. He's lined up across from Myles Garrett. He's lined up across from J.J. Watt, and the numbers just are not there. He brings nothing to the run stop game. Nothing. He does not get tackles like that. If he has 4 sacks in a season, he probably has 5 total tackles. It's for me, he's not that guy, and I don't want to see him restrict the growth of some of these guys that we have on the roster now, and maybe could explode and become much better than the production he's giving. Jeff, talk about Jadeveon.
So I get what you're saying, but he's the Browns on defense wise, or the Cardinals. It doesn't matter. Yeah, of course he's on the opposite side of 1 star. Cardinals 1 star, which Watt was, by the way, on the downhill.
Houston with Watt.
Yeah, Houston. That's what I meant. So, but our defense, we have so many fast guys, and we're so. It could be a good mix for him as a rotational player. I know he's injury prone, but there's so many other factors with our defense.
Let me ask you a question.
The coordinator's got to look for. It could free him up.
Let me ask you, if you brought him in situationally on no known passing downs, okay, where he's going to just be able to pin his ears back and rush the quarterback, that I might be able to see a rush. But listen, this guy, in his mind and name recognition wise, he is a superstar and most likely wants to get. Now, I'm not in the contract negotiation room, but most likely wants to get paid like a superstar. I know he visited with Baltimore Ravens last week. They let him leave the building. You don't do that. These guys, elite pass rushers,
too much money.
Elite pass rushers do not make it into week 1 of the preseason without a contract offer from a team, and it just gets to the point where they let him leave the building. They let him leave, and it might be. It might be time for him to find a situational role on a team and take that kind of contract rather than what he took. Now, we don't know
that's probably what
we're assuming is
a situational role.
But I personally don't want to see him on the roster. Didn't. I think it's over. I think that's passed. I didn't want to see him on the roster. I'm glad that they took the visit, and it lets you know that the front office is always trying to upgrade, is looking at all the options, and bringing in free agents. Spending the money, and that ship has sailed, it looks like, to now. And
I mean, and honestly, like, I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I've never been like blown away by him. Like, I mean, I never thought he was all that. But I've been begging for more pass rush help, so I'm intrigued by it to some degree. For some reason, and I can't even remember specific incidents, but I thought maybe there were some issues from a locker room standpoint, not just like some inconsistent or lack of production, but also that maybe there's some locker room stuff. I will say that, and we've talked about it before, I trust Coach Peterson. Yeah. And really, I trust Balky. Balky's been really good.
You weren't wearing the clown nose?
I didn't wear the clown. No, I didn't do the clown
thing.
It was. There was some. I haven't agreed with all the moves, but I didn't take it there. I will say that if they ended up going that route, I would it's in their hands, and I trust them, and whatever. But
it's not like if they sign them, I'm gonna be mad about it, or if they don't sign them, I'm gonna be mad about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like okay, and it also depends.
I just
what
don't
the
want
contract is.
Well, ultimately, we were talking about Caleb and so that was kind of like what it is like. Clearly, they see, we can kind of connect dots and say, well, because Chason didn't produce, that's why they're looking at Clowney. But I will say that overall, it is a lack of. I think that they know that they could probably use some help at
I don't want a big name free agent
person.
Yeah.
I don't want a big name free agent restricting the growth of the youth in the locker room of what we have now. Yeah. And I think these rookies are good, and I think they're going to make their way, and I don't want to see them, you kind of feel like a coach, they bring in a high price free agent, you feel like you have to play them, you feel like, even if they're not producing production wise, I don't know. I don't want them there. I don't want to see it.
Is that like the first thing that he said intelligent?
No. Come on,
it's a short list.
I've got like 2 or 3 so far.
It's a short list. I'll give him more than that.
Okay.
So ultimately,
I was like,
so
it actually made sense. I was like, that's a good call.
Takeaways from the game overall, the good. I think the defense played well against the run. I think especially the middle. All the rookies, all the production. We had the usual suspects making plays for the most part. First team offense finished strong, and
didn't start strong, but they did finish
right. And then I love the depth. And then the bad for me,
penalties.
Penalties was awful. And
refs were icing their arm down after the game.
And some of them I thought were a little bit questionable, but I'm not in that mode yet to say that the refs are screwing us yet. But there was way too many penalties. I hated seeing Trevor with the interception, even though I'm not that worried about it. It just kind of went against what we were talking about with wanting a fast start.
Yeah.
And then now I will say players. We mentioned Caleb on Chason. I think the other guy that jumped out at me as far as not really having a great game was Kevin Austin because last week we talked about a couple, the wide receivers, Tim Jones, Kevin Austin, as being 2 of the guys that were really kind of fighting for maybe the bottom part of the wide receiver room. And coaches and Trevor had singled him out as playing well, but he didn't look too good. He had a couple drops in the game, I believe. But I honestly think there was just a lot of good. I don't think there was a ton of bad in the game.
It wasn't a ton of bad. It looked good.
Okay. And so I think we can all agree more good than bad. Obviously, we saw some good stuff coming out of the team. We saw what we wanted to see. Continuation, build on some stuff from last year. Get the young guys in the game, see what they can produce. And I think more good than bad. So I like it.
All right. Absolutely. And I do have to say, it's the first time I actually seen Parker Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of.
Oh, he's thick,
He's
bro.
kind of thick boy.
Yeah.
I was like, when he was going to receive, I was like, dang, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, 5'10", 220 to 250. That's a.
I think he flashed a little bit too, but that's what I told you in training camp. I was like, oh, he's kind of
you said it actually last
I thought he was
year,
like a smaller receiver, and he's not real tall, but he's
thick.
I think you can probably see eye to eye with him, but he is.
All right, and from the end of the Dallas Cowboys game, we're going to pivot to next week's game, the matchup with the Detroit Lions. We're doing a practice with them right now, but before we do that, let's talk about the sponsor for a second. The giveaway last week, Don Juan's Mexican Restaurant, San Jose Boulevard. Congratulations, Corey Bracken 5573. Also, happy birthday, Corey. Get in touch, DM us on the Instagram, and we'll get you the gift card. Don Juan's Mexican Restaurant. Ben, say a few words about our sponsor.
Yeah, Don Juan's, they're my favorite, my go-to place for Mexican food. They're family-owned and operated, 20 years in Mandarin. And, all the restaurants that you see pop up, everybody, that talks about it, it's a tough business, having a restaurant. And you see all these that open up and then they close up within a year or two or whatever.
Yeah, they're a staple of
Mandarin. Yeah, they are. And anytime you go in there, they're always rocking and rolling.
Probably see Ben telling stories.
Possibly. Maybe looking for an autograph.
Possibly looking for an autograph. Still don't have my Don Juan's autograph lanyard. But 20 years in Mandarin, great food, amazing service. I always say that I tell people when I'm referring them to the restaurant that, more than likely you're going to see one of the owners walk around. They'll come to your table, ask how you're doing, and just a really good family atmosphere. But they know how to party too. They got a nice bar, and then for Cinco de Mayo and other nice events.
Perfect.
Nice parties.
Thank you, Don Juan's, for the love and support. Big Jaguar fans at Don Juan's. Go check them out, San Jose Boulevard. If you haven't been there, go check them out for sure. If you've been there, you already know how good it is. Yeah. Definitely give them another visit.
Queso's like crack, I'm telling you.
Okay, moving right along. Detroit Lions. We're actually in Detroit right now. The team doing a joint practice with the Detroit Lions. Saw some good things from our offense actually, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk some talking points. Last year they were a surprise team, NFC North. They actually made a push to try to make the playoffs. They got close. Didn't actually make it, but they were known. They were known for the right reasons. They had a very fast offense, a very good offense, one of the top offenses in the NFL, but a terrible defense. And addressing the defense. Remember, we had the number 1 pick. They had the number 2 pick. It was the Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson sweepstakes, and these guys are going to be compared. Whether that's right or wrong for the rest of their career, really. They're going to be compared. And Aiden Hutchinson broke off to a very fast start. Double-digit sacks, great player. And we kind of knew we were getting with him, sack master. Trayvon plays more of a run defense and can rush theoretically, and can rush the quarterback. He didn't get those sack numbers last year. But these guys are going to be pitted against each other going forward. And tell us about this week's matchup. And wait, before that, tell us about today's practice, Ben. What we saw today in the practice.
Which, mind you, that was our only legitimate loss last year.
Yeah,
I mean, legitimate.
We had all those
loss.
Just
one-score
weren't ready
losses.
for them. They're
They
too
smoked
fast on
us.
offense.
They
They are
smoked us.
fast offense.
Well, that's one
That's
thing.
one of those games you go, oh yeah, we got our butt kicked.
Which that usually happens, at least once a year, where there's one that just gets out of hand. But they're a tough team, and their coach seems to really kind of inspire them, and so
players coach.
They and so that you're going to get those guys maybe playing outside or beyond their skill level. I mean, they have some good players.
I say they'll make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean that's
well in the North. There's no more Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, so we know that Chicago's not ready yet. They're a year or two away, and they're still looking at what they have in Justin Fields. Now, the team to beat right now on paper is Minnesota. They're getting another year older. That defense, they aren't replenishing the ranks as fast as they should. They still have Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson.
I
they
say
lost
Detroit
Dalvin
wins that
Cook.
division this year.
They lost
it's
Dalvin
between
Cook.
Detroit and Chicago.
So it might be Detroit. Now this week might be a good test to see if our defense can stop or contain a fast, explosive offense ran by Jared Goff of all people.
well.
Like, surprise!
And last year, that was what was so frustrating. I mean, he looked like Tom Brady out there. I mean, he was picking us apart. We couldn't touch him. That pass rush, lack of kind of reared its head. But I'll tell you today, from the highlights that they were showing on I saw on Instagram and Twitter.
Tell us about those highlights. Man.
Oh, it was beautiful. I saw probably at least like 4 touchdowns. Ridley caught a bomb. I didn't get the yardage, but it looked like it was about 70 yards.
Or something like that.
No defense
kept.
in sight. I saw him catch another one that was, looked like more of a short pass into the end zone. Christian Kirk got one. So
ETN had run outside for a touchdown.
Yep. ETN got in. So I mean, that was like 4 or 5 touchdowns they showed. So we didn't see the other side of it, but I think
Jags might be saying, "Hey, this is payback," even though it's only preseason. But we don't know.
Well, in last year's game, like you said, that was like the only one, because we had so many losses that we could have won, should have won.
Yeah.
That one there was really no.
There was no guessing.
There was no doubt.
There was no doubt.
Yeah, but one thing coming out of that was we all had that moment of horror when we see Trevor go down, and he was injured. But what I loved from that was how he came back out. We were in a game where we were out of it. There was no coming back really, and he still came back from being down and being really banged up,
Yeah.
and he came back, and that has to be something that the players, just another kind of like little check mark that they
Heart.
it's heart, yeah,
And it really kind of started our run, but also started
Yeah.
Detroit's run at the same time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I thought this was going to be a win guaranteed.
yeah.
And probably Jaguars thought the same thing, and we got smoked.
Well, keep in mind, before the season, Jared Goff was known as a draft bust, number 1 overall pick, took the Rams to a Super Bowl, lost that Super Bowl, got traded, moved on when they picked up Stafford, goes to Detroit in the Stafford trade, and then reinvents himself. Rhythm quarterback, quick hitter, reminds you of, for the older guys, Rich Gannon back in the day, get the ball out fast, hit all the different weapons, and let them run in space with their speed, utilize that speed, and get an explosive offense.
He's that guy that's had success, but you don't look at him and fear him. He just keeps kind of
I never
making
thought
plays.
he was a bust, but
reinvented himself in Detroit. Okay, and for me, what it is, I would like to see how our defense stacks up against an elite, explosive offensive unit like the Detroit Lions. See where we're at as like a measuring stick to see a watermark how we're gonna play against these teams. We need to obviously get a pass rush against a team like this. We got to obviously buckle down. The defensive backs have to do their job, step up, contain some of these. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. They got weapons. They're fast. I'd like to see how that goes. But more importantly, I am interested. I'll say it. I want to see Aiden Hutchinson and I want to see Trayvon Walker. I want to see how that goes. Jeff, speak to that little rivalry, so to speak. Speak to that.
I was happy. I didn't want Hutchinson because the thing that stood out with him, he has very short arms. And that's what I heard. For him coming to defensive lineman, you're going against massive offensive linemen to be able to get inside the pads. And I'm going, okay, Walker's it. But Hutchinson had 9.5 sacks, 3 interceptions.
He's a good player.
And compared to Trayvon, which was 3.5 sacks.
Yeah, but the thing was Aiden Hutchinson was
a specialist.
Sack specialist. The Trayvon had more upside, and he was more versatile, asked to do more things with Georgia. And now that they're wanting to kind of narrow that down, be a pass rusher, among a couple other things, but not maybe do as much as he did at Georgia. Whereas Aiden Hutchinson was more like rush the passer, even though he had a couple interceptions, I want to say
3.
too. But yeah, so I mean, it's good, and they're going to be compared together. But I think long term, we'll just have to wait and see. If Trayvon can develop that, a little bit more.
Okay, saying that. So this week now. With the new schedule, this is what used to be the third preseason game. Okay, this is the one where they played the starters the most minutes, the most reps, the most series. So now they're doing that in the second preseason game now. So what are we expecting to see from the starters? How long are we going to see them in the game? Specifically, Trevor Lawrence. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I don't know as far as
they haven't really said.
They haven't really said. I know that I don't want them to go that long. I mean, I'm good with a quarter. Honestly, and then let the all the guys fighting for positions. I
mean, would you expect that to happen on the last game of the preseason?
No, that's because
normally when it's 4 games on the last game, no one plays.
Right, and so but because we only have 3 preseason games. This is effectively that third preseason game in the past where everybody played. So that's what this week is. Sense. And then next week, when we finally get a game versus the Dolphins, probably nobody's going to be playing. So, I hope that they don't play too much. But again, what I'm looking for,
same thing.
Fast start, pass rush, rookies in depth and where everybody's going to play.
I'm going to be a little bit more specific what I'm looking for. I want to see Trevor Lawrence connect with Calvin Ridley for a touchdown pass. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. This is the defense to get it done versus. And obviously I want to see more of the rookies. I mean, look, we love what we saw from the rookies this past week versus Dallas. We would love to see them continue, build on that, make themselves a name in this league, get themselves a roster spot, and keep the momentum going.
I would like Trayvon to get into the stat sheet, honestly.
That too.
I want to see that.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll take Trayvon getting into the stat sheet.
That's a win for me if I see Trayvon in the stat sheet.
So another road preseason game. So we're going to be watching that one again. We'll talk about more. Obviously, we'll go over that next week. See what we have to say about that one. So
hopefully it's all good things.
Hopefully we build on the momentum. No injuries.
Yeah. I was so relieved when Trevor got filled, everybody got filled. I was like, okay,
we're good.
A little sigh of relief.
I'm good.
All right, so that'll do it.
I was relaxed. I got him more sauces.
More sauces, maybe an autograph.
So
Sunday. That'll do it for the preview for the Detroit Lions preseason game. You know how much I love the preseason, Ben. All right, let's get to a giveaway. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment in the comment section. We're going to do another Don Juan's gift card. Thank you to our sponsor, Don Juan's Mexican, San Jose Boulevard. Check them out. And until next time, we'll see you.
Absolutely.
Go Jags.
Make sure you give him an autograph. You might get the gift card.
Go Jags.
Could be your autograph. I don't know.
Oh. How long will you keep the autograph thing?
Oh, forever.